Welcome back to the channel. This is Edwards Bowen. I'm Glenn McGowan. Today I'm going to be working on the 85 Corvette. So recently I've been dealing with a little bit of a vibration in the drive shaft. So this may sound like a similar video if you've been following the channel for a while, but it's not. This is new. I'm going to be pulling the drive shaft out of the car today. Mainly because the vibration I'm having around 50-60 miles an hour. So to make a long story short, I had done a 6-speed swap on this not too long ago. The drive shaft that I got for it, the minute I put it in, it vibrated just horribly, and you could just almost want to rattle you out of the car. So I went to a local drive shaft shop, had them balance it. When I got it back, there's a giant weight on the side of it, and I guess it balanced out fine, but it still just didn't feel right. So it's been kind of bothering me a little bit. It's not that bad, but certain speeds it comes in, and I had my buddy Eric, special thanks to him, come through with his 1990 Corvette 6-speed car, so I could drive that next to mine, so I could feel exactly where the vibration's coming in, what's in the car, you know, similarities in the transmissions and stuff like that. And I'm almost confident now, thinking that that drive shaft is definitely the fault here. There's just something about that giant weight on the side of it just made me kind of realize, like, I don't know, it just doesn't seem correct. So, you know, long story short, I'm gonna pull that out today. I have my original drive shaft. This was a 4+3 stick shift car. They are the same lengths. So keep that in mind if you are doing a drive shaft swap. Automatic are the same lengths, manual ones are the same lengths. The only difference between the manual ones from the 4+3s to the 6-speeds is the slip yoke. So they have to change over. So that being said, I'm gonna pull this out today. I'm gonna jack the car up. I'll show you how to get the drive shaft out. I'm gonna try to do it as easy as possible because I'm essentially just gonna swap the slip yoke over from the existing drive shaft, put it on my old drive shaft, throw it back in. So I don't want to make this too big of a project. I'm not putting new U-joints in my old drive shaft. I'm essentially just swapping it in to eliminate the vibration if that's the cause of it. So to jack it up, just a couple little tips here. I'm gonna actually try to jack up the rear of it a little higher than the front, mainly when you pull the drive shaft out. If you have the front up too high, all of the gear oil from the trans, it's just gonna pour it out, and then you're gonna be adding more in there. So just a little tip. So jack the back up a little higher, so when you pull it out, it won't be as bad. I'm going to lower my exhaust down, hopefully just a little bit, enough to kind of slide the thing out. And also make sure that you have both wheels off the ground, because when you try to turn the drive shaft, the wheels are going to move, and if you have just one side up, you're not going to be able to rotate the drive shaft to get all 4 bolts off. So I'm going to start this thing up, get it all jacked up, and then we'll get underneath of it. This week's video is brought to you by driveshaft.com. Shop our site for Corvette performance parts. We now have our new D.I.Y cat delete pipes back in stock, our new test pipes, and we now have a new version of our hose kit available. This is for 88 to 91. This includes a fitting that you can hook your hose directly up to the hose that's on your car on the firewall. So check out the link in the description or visit driveshaft.com. Just a couple things I wanted to mention too if you are watching this video because you have a vibration in your car. So the driveline vibration typically is at higher speeds, 50, 60 miles an hour. You can really kind of feel it, you know, in your body, kind of underneath the car. When you have a vibration that's coming from the front wheels, or when you hit the brakes and the front wheel moves, that's rotors. Or, you know, if you have a vibration at lower speeds, it could be a bad tire. You really would need someone like, you know, who knows what they're doing to look at that. But if you are watching this and you think you have a vibration 50, 60 miles an hour, and the drivetrain is pretty much original and it just started, the odds are it's probably just the U-joints. They do go bad. For a drive shaft just to become out of balance, unless like the weight that's on it fell off, it's kind of not that common. But usually if you're getting a vibration there, it's probably time for new U-joints. So this video will help you out, because I am going to knock out the U-joints to exchange that slip yoke over. So we will work on that too. Just a other tip too, if you have a lowered car, this is air ride, so it's sitting pretty, but it rides at a normal ride height. And when I say normal ride height, I'm talking about the rear half shafts. They need to be parallel with the ground. When I used to run coilovers on this, or if you had it too lower with like 2 long bolts, the minute the half shafts are like this, you're gonna get a vibration, same thing, 50, 60 miles an hour. So when I was testing the car, I made sure that I was aired up, that I was high enough so that I knew that they were parallel, and that eliminated that. But a lot of times people slam these things down on coilovers, and all of a sudden 50 miles an hour shaking you, and you could feel it like in your seat. It's like kicking you in the ass how bad it is. So there's the two things to look for too. So if you slam the car and now you got a vibration, you're gonna have to raise it up, unfortunately, unless that doesn't bother you. But there are just a couple little things to look for that I just wanted to bring up if you are trying to chase down a vibration. All right, so I'm gonna get this thing fired up, get it jacked up. The only thing I really miss about having this being a normal car with normal suspension is how easy it was to just put a jack underneath of it. So now it's like a 10-step process. All right, so I got the car up on jack stands. I got the back of it higher than the front. Now I'm gonna unbolt the two muffler pipes here, and I have the jack underneath the exhaust. I'm gonna try to lower that down as much as I can, and then we'll take a look at clearance and see if we have enough. Even though this is like custom exhaust that I made, it has like the factory hangers in the back, which is just one bolt that goes from the muffler to the top hanger on either side. So if you have like a factory Corvette, it should be relatively similar to this. All right, so it's coming out pretty good. I'm gonna just grab some jack stands real quick and just put them underneath this, just so it doesn't put any extra pressure on where my headers are. All right, so this is a view from underneath the car here. So there are the bolts that we're gonna be taking off here. So we'll be able to spin this around and loosen them. So I have an 8mm open end wrench here to get up on there. And to keep this thing from spinning, I have a long flathead that I'm going to stick up in between it and kind of lock it out as I'm loosening those, and then I'll get two off, turn it, lock it out again, and take the other two off. So this is the front of the drive shaft. This is where I have the screwdriver. I'm going to hold that in place there. So I'm on my last bolt here. So once you get them loose and you got a straight shot, I have a 1/4-inch ratchet here and an 8mm socket, and you can just kind of loosen them all the way out instead of using the open end. Trick is you just don't want to strip them. All right, so this will be the tricky part. Hopefully we can pop this out and slide it backwards. All right, so that came right out, pretty easy. Okay, so I have this out, and this is like a side-by-side comparison here. And as you can see, that's the differences of the yokes. That's so much thicker. That's like a 32 spline. And then this is the weight I was talking about. I mean, it's like several stacked washers on there, and it might be okay, but I don't know, there's something about it. Because when I bought the swap kit, this came with it, and the trans was kind of ratty looking. So to me, it's like, I don't know what happened to this thing. It could have been thrown down the stairs. So, you know, I just want to swap it real quick and see if it's going to make a difference. All right, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark on the drive shaft and the yoke, the matching yoke on it. So for some reason, I decided to put them back. You know, they'll match up with each other, especially with the one that was already balanced. So if it's something else, I can put this back and it'll be 100%. Okay, so I got the drive shafts on the floor here, so I'm going to remove the U-joints. So just a couple things that you can use from your toolbox to knock these things out of here. I know it's not going to be the fanciest thing in the world, but I've been doing it for years. Everybody does it kind of this way, and it's quick. You can knock these things out. So using those pliers to pop the little rings out here, I'll show you in a second. Flathead to help get those out. You need a socket to sit at the bottom, and then you need another junk socket to hammer the U-joint essentially down into this, which you'll see here in a second. And I got a piece of wood and a big hammer. So this is a clip we're going to remove like this. Comes out pretty easy, and then we're going to put this at the bottom. So essentially this is going to be going around here because we're going to be hammering the other side down. So this will go on top like that, and then we'll use our junk socket here to knock it all the way down to get the cap out of the other side, and then we'll be able to pull this out that way. As you can see, it's slowly moving out down there, and then you can see it coming up like that. So we're going to keep smacking it. Set that to the side. So it comes out like that. Put this to the side. Now do this one. So it's pretty much that easy. So once you get that off, you essentially do, if you're replacing the U-joint, same thing to the other side and kind of reverse that when you're going back in. All right, so I didn't hit the record button when I was hammering this one in here. So I'm just gonna show you a quick example with the other one. So you're gonna start off with the cap end off, and you're going to put the cap end off and in here into the yoke like that all the way down until this end. You want to square that up with air and kind of push that in, and then turn it around. You can use the flat surface, you don't need the socket, and then put the cap on and just square that up in the yoke. And once that's squared up in the yoke, just slowly tap it down till it sits in there, and then you'll both have it seated on both sides like that. This side that needs to come in more, I'm putting this clip in first. Once that clip's seated, now I'm going to turn it around and then just slowly knock this down till it bottoms out on that clip. And now you can put your other retaining clip in. Just tap that down to make sure it's seated, and the same thing on the other side. Once they're seated completely in there, you're good to go. And then at this point, you could do the other sides if you had to. So I'm gonna throw this back in the car real quick. All right, so same process coming out. Just gonna slide this bad boy up here. And just keep an eye on your rear caps that are loose, that they don't slide off as you're putting this in here. All right, so I got it seated back up in here. I'm gonna run my bolts back in. Make sure you just get them all snug and both sides in before you tighten them down. Just so the U-joint seats in here. There's like a little tab on there, and you want to sit that on the inside of that tab. Okay, so I already have it bolted back in. I'm just hooking the exhaust up. So all in all, it maybe took me like an hour by the time I started jacking this thing up till where I'm at right now. So I have to say, really easy job to do, especially if you can just hang the exhaust and just slide it out. You don't have to make it a big thing by taking everything off. You can kind of just maneuver it, sneak your hand up there and sneak the drive shaft out. So hopefully this will solve the problem, but we'll find out shortly. So I just got back, and there's nothing better than actually fixing something like that and actually solving the problem, which is amazing. I've been driving this thing now for the last, I don't know, almost about a year now, and there's just been something about it that's just driving me out of my mind. And I was thinking to myself, you know what, maybe it's not in the drive shaft, maybe it's something in the trans, because the trans makes a lot of noise. And I'm like, you know what? Just get a different drive shaft, get a different drive shaft. Even though that thing was balanced by one of the best drive shaft balance places in the area, there's something about that giant weight on there. I was like, I don't know, it just seems freaking weird for something that big on there, or how bad that thing had to be bent to compensate for that. But needless to say, I just put that on. I didn't even have that balance, and the car is like 100% smooth. I was probably doing 70, 80, and there was like no vibration in it at all, where it actually would just send a shudder through the car, different speeds, and the wheel would shake and stuff like that. So needless to say, I'm happy. You can easily do that drive shaft in your driveway wherever you're at. Just jack the car up and just lower the exhaust, pull it out, and bang those U-joints in. So if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button. Thanks for watching.